Welcome to These Are Good Days with Leanne Miller.
And Matt Barris.
Well, Matt, you probably know what I'm going to say.
I already know what you're going to say. And I'm already mad.
You're getting rid of the faux white couch.
I'm already mad. Here's why. Mallory and I decided to get a couch.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, so many people are so excited for you.
It's a big day.
It's a big deal.
We didn't realize that we were living in squalor.
No, you're not living in squalor. You just
dramatically cheered about our new couch.
Thrilled.
I know, but our friend Kat slept on that couch for a year.
Okay, now listen, I told you I was going to punch you if you kept saying that. Matt, how long ago did Kat sleep on that couch for a year?
Mallory was in grad school.
Was
that was
how many
almost
years?
20 years ago. 15 years ago.
15
20
years ago.
ago.
15 years ago, she slept on that couch.
Yeah.
And that couch, literally, you sent me a picture of it. And I'm like, you could disappear in.
Stop that.
You could be eaten by that couch.
Here's what I have to say. That couch is from Ashley Furniture. Ashley's, if you are listening. That couch has held up so long. And it must have been a good seller because they still have that couch.
Well, it don't look the same.
Well, it doesn't look brand new. I'm actually mad. I just need a little more respect for the couch that has cradled Kat, and we've held all our babies on it.
And it looks like it.
Stop it. You're going to be sad.
Listen, I want you to show us a picture today. I want you to show us a picture today of the couch so that people can see.
I don't want to do that.
So that people can also rejoice with me. You're getting a beautiful blue. It's a deep, beautiful
it's like a
blue.
turquoisey deep blue.
No,
like
it's
a
not
peacock.
it's more peacock. It's not turquoisey. It's like a deep royalish blue.
Yeah, it's coming in April.
And it's a sectional coming in April. And you literally had the audacity to think that you could donate that couch to somebody. I'm like, no, that couch needs to go to the curb.
You know what I was thinking is we are contemplating and laying groundwork for doing video, and I think we should keep that couch for our video podcast, and we could podcast from the white couch. You're saying no.
No.
Okay.
No.
Hey, what's
never.
Let's move on. It's just too painful.
Yeah. But we're just everyone is rejoicing that you're getting a new couch.
If you want to come into my DMs and say like I would actually, you know what I would actually
You went to
love?
Levin, if you are listening.
Here's what I would love to see. If you have a couch, if you are listening and you have a couch that you love to hate, that has been so well loved, I think if you would post your couch, the one that you probably wouldn't normally show, if you would post your couch today, tag me and Leanne, I will gladly and happily share mine. But I'm going to need some people to do it first for me to work up the courage to share my couch. Okay. So if you want to see the couch, I'm going to need you to pave the way for me and start, because I don't know. It's a little harrowing.
It's a little vulnerable.
It's vulnerable.
Because the couch has been through a lot.
It's been through some wars.
It's been through a lot. Listen, and you're right. I will say that couch has held up, but no more. It has not. It is time.
It's time to go.
Okay.
Tell me your good day.
Well, my good day was...
We might also have the same good day.
Yeah. Our good friend Molly was in town. Is this your good day? You're shaking your head.
Kind of, yeah. We'll see what part you talk about.
Friday morning, you and Mallory came.
That's my part.
Yeah, you're sticking your tongue out. Friday morning, you and Mallory. Last Friday morning, you and Mallory came over, and we had breakfast, and the kids had spent the night with Grammy B.
Yeah.
And so you and Mallory came over, and we brainstormed, and we talked, and we ate Danishes from Miss Amy's. Miss Amy's, if you are listening.
I love Miss Amy's Bakery.
Oh,
here's what I want to say about that morning too.
Her eclairs.
So I had the pecan pie bar. That was one of my favorites.
Yes, me too.
You know what? It was so fun to me too. This is one of the reasons why I love living in a small town. We went to Miss Amy's Bakery before we came to your house, And Mallory and I walked in without the kids, and Miss Amy herself was standing right behind the counter, and she went, "Hey, Matt and Mal, good morning. How's it going?" And I love that about living in a small town. It's so fun.
I love that.
And I love Miss Amy's bakery.
Yeah. Oh, great
So yeah,
stuff.
we brought a big old box of goodies for you and Molly.
It was fun. It was a fun.
And you know
morning.
what? What I love is you shared this video. You know what? You don't struggle with vulnerability on Instagram like I do, because you showed your dirty kitchen, because we got all the dishes out.
We had all the dishes
And you
out.
were saying how great it was to have a house full of people that's a little, I wouldn't
messy.
say dirty.
It was messy. It was messy. There were dishes
were
and
just, like, hanging
pastries
out all
and
morning.
hanging. And we rearranged the furniture. I mean,
That's
it was.
right.
We had sticky notes all over the fridge. I mean,
It was so good.
It was so good.
And I think here's the other part that comes to mind when I think about this good day is get friends that make you think bigger.
Oh yes.
You know, you're so good at that. Mallory is great at that.
You're
And
good.
Molly
You're
is so
good
good
at that.
at it.
Yeah.
And we, you know, what happened was Molly came to town for an event at Be Fearless.
Yes.
And
Be fearless if you are listening.
I know Be Fearless is listening. And we're going to have an event at Be Fearless
Yes,
in
at the end
April.
of
We're
April.
so excited.
excited.
Molly and you both spoke at the event at Be Fearless. And you know what was so great is you and Molly said, "I know when Matt comes for breakfast, he's going to have some notes for us."
Yes.
And what I love about friendships like that is it's a place you guys, we all for each other create a place where we can give feedback. And Molly said, "Hey, this part of my talk that I usually give feels a little shaky. Yeah, let's work on it together." So we got out Post-it notes and worked on it. And then you guys worked on stuff for me and some ideas for me for the future. And I love friends like that that help you think big, where you can say, "Oh, this feels weird. Let's brainstorm it," or how to make you a better person.
Yes.
And that just brings me so much energy.
Yes.
And so it was so fun.
I think it's important to look around your life, and if you have people that it seems like they constantly want to keep you small, or they want to discourage you or hold you back, or no, you don't need to do that. You don't need to go to that seminar or that event or that thing that may help you grow or pursue something that you've been dreaming about.
Right.
You know, take an inventory, because I believe it is important to sit in a room with people that see the best in you, see a bigger picture for you, see a brighter future for you. And you know, today I washed the sheets today, Matty B, and I was making my bed, and and you know, just something about getting that corner of the fitted sheet on the bed, and getting it all lined up the way it should go. And I was struggling, and I was like laying across the bed, like pulling.
Oh, did you call Big
D? And I was thinking when I was making my bed, I was just thinking about how, you know, I'm 55. I know. I'm 55. I'll be 56 in August. And some of what's happening in my life right now, I really wanted to happen earlier than this, or I thought I did. I thought I wanted it to happen when I was 35 or 40. You know, I wanted some opportunities some things that we have like coming up on deck are so exciting. Our own coffee bean blend. I mean, just some, and it's happening all in just this precious, special way of like this organic, growing podcast that we really are just so excited about. But those are things that now I do feel like, because we're in a faith framework, we both would believe this way, that I believe God is constantly giving us opportunities to grow and to become a better version of ourselves. And sometimes those things don't come until I believe he sees that we are ready to steward them. Right. And if you're praying, if you believe that God is going to bring about in your life what he wants to bring about in your life, then my life is doing exactly what it should be doing, because I've been praying that prayer for many years. I don't want it if you don't want it, Lord. I don't want a coffee bean blend unless that's something that you would want for us, right? So when all these opportunities start coming, I feel like now at 55, I'm in a better place to appreciate them, to steward them, to be grateful for them, because there's been times that we've felt like stretched in business and financially stressed in business, and now that's not there, and there are these pieces of my life that are coming into my life that I feel like God's saying, like, you're ready for this now. And you're not going to put too much stock in this. You're going to foster this and navigate this well, which I don't think I would have done at 35.
Yeah. I think you have more years under your belt than I do. And I think that sometimes I still struggle with, because you've been 38. You know what?
Right.
Well, I'm 39 now. You've been 39. You know what that feels like to want something when it might not be the right time.
Right.
And so I don't know if I can echo what you're saying yet, because I still think I'm a little bit like, God, why isn't this happening? I thought that it would look like this. Why doesn't it look like this? And I think I'm prayerful and hopeful that I get better at that.
Right.
But if I'm being honest, that's something that I still work on, and that I still work on saying, like, God, maybe this isn't the right time for X, Y, and Z.
Well, no, because everyone older than you, like my age and older, are looking at your life saying, you're right where you should be, because you have children in your home that are looking up to you and looking to you to be present and to be the person that they want to be like.
Right.
And you really can't model that if your focus is on other things.
Right.
And so I look back now and I think, well, thank goodness. Thank goodness I didn't have some of the things happening that I have happening now, because if they would have, I would have probably chased after that and not been in my kitchen with all of the drama and musical theater department with after parties, right?
Yeah.
I would have
remember those days.
I would have been chasing something else.
Yeah.
And I just think I do think there's a huge part of our life that we just have to believe, if we're praying for God's will, that if certain things aren't happening, that may be an answer.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that kind of leads me to our topic that we wanted to talk about today. And
listen, and we already know we're probably not going to get done, and there's probably going to be a part 2. So just hold on to your seats, because we're probably not going to be able to wrap up this subject without going into it again next week.
Right. So it really was on the heels of an opportunity that you had. Last week, Molly was with us. Molly came. If you don't know about Molly, our friend, her Instagram handle is molly.balint. Molly is a business coach. She has really branded and created the framework for something called the soft business model. Where, can you give me your tagline? Because I know you have it better.
Soft Business School is creating creating a life as beautiful online as you do offline.
Yeah. And so what I love about Molly's philosophy is Molly knows she has connections to Meta and the Instagram community and marketing, and she's so good at the strategy behind it. But what I love about what Molly's true work is it's getting to the heart and telling a good story and knowing why you are doing what you're doing.
And pushing also against the hustle culture.
Absolutely.
Like soft is the new hard. Like soft is the new version of how we want to approach our life and business, because there is so much yelling about hustle, run, do it all. And she's saying, no, maybe it's a softer approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Be Fearless had Molly come from Maryland and speak at their event. And you were also a guest speaker at the event as well.
And for those of you that are not from around here, Be Fearless, it's a 2 sister stores that are connected by this beautiful, I don't want to call it modern, but it's more modern, I guess. Beautiful breezeway that connects the 2 stores that they are able to hold events in. That's where we're going to have our event at the end of April. And it's absolutely beautiful. There's a beautiful outdoor setting and big glass doors. It's just gorgeous. And this is in the village of Walnut Creek, which is in the heart of Ohio's Amish country. And they just have absolutely beautiful places. And so the event was there, and they called it the Round Table.
Yeah, it was a great way to network with people and to learn some of the principles that you and Molly taught. And so You know, as we were talking about where we want to go today with this conversation, I asked if you would be comfortable talking about your experience. And, you know, I think you can actually see your former bed and breakfast that you and Daryl used to run from
Just
the
about,
Be Fearless store.
just about, yeah.
And what it's like to go to a place where you're from, where everybody knows you, everybody knows your family, everybody knows your business, and people might have preconceived notions about you. So can you talk a little bit about that story and what goes through your head in those moments?
Okay, well, I guess this all was born from after the event. The next day, Molly and I went we went back to Be Fearless just for like a follow-up meeting. Like, how did it go? What went well? What would we do different? That kind of thing. And I told their team, I said, I was really nervous.
Yeah.
I don't get nervous. I am not a nervous person.
You're not nervous on television?
I really wasn't even nervous on Guys Grocery Games. I did stand there for a minute and think, what am I doing here? This feels really weird because I have a pastry chef from France on one side and somebody from the Culinary Institute on the other. And, I'm from Walnut Creek and just got done making pancakes and sausage the day before.
Right.
It was just a surreal feeling, but I wasn't really nervous.
Right.
So I don't struggle with big nerves, but for whatever reason, when I go to speak to or get up in front of or to be public with, and obviously I am public on Instagram and I'm public on social media, but that feels very different than standing in a room full of live people,
right?
And they're sitting down and you're standing up and you go to speak,
right?
And when I told them all I was nervous, they couldn't believe it. They were like, "What? You were nervous?" First of all, we couldn't tell, and why were you nervous? And so, and the answer I gave them is the very authentic, true answer is that when I get up in front of people from my community, local people. I have to mentally, emotionally, and spiritually jump over, like on a track field, those hurdles, those hurdles people jump just
absolutely.
So I have to jump those hurdles because I am very well aware that there are people in the room that have preconceived ideas of me. When I'm on TV, I don't think about people having preconceived ideas of me. There may be ones out there that do, but I don't think about it. But when I'm standing in front of people, looking at people's faces and, maybe knowing who their grandfather was or knowing who their family was or knowing who their aunt is, it messes with my head a little bit. And, so that's where it was.
So can you share with us maybe some of the misconceptions that you think people have had about you? That maybe some of the stories that you've heard over the years. I know the one of when you and Daryl got married, but I'm sure there's other things too.
Well, when Daryl and I got married, we met, dated, and got married in 28 days. It was fast, and we eloped, and it's a little bit of a crazy story. And it was a little bit of a scandal in some ways, not in a horrible derogatory way, but he was from an Amish family.
Right.
So
and you had big bangs and red lipstick.
Oh, yes. And so there was an Amish woman who, of course, I would never say her name. And actually, she's already passed away. But there was an Amish woman that was telling people that I paid Daryl to marry me. And it was a large sum of money. And so now, every now and then I'll be like, honey, where'd you put that?
Yeah, where'd you put that money?
You got that in the basement in a box somewhere? Why'd you pull that out?
We could really use that money.
And just some very also hurtful things that were just being said. And I had to just keep moving. And I think that's sometimes easier said than done.
Absolutely.
I think that it's important to surround yourself with people you can talk to about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to be confident in what you're doing. So I was confident in marrying Daryl.
Absolutely.
And it didn't really matter what that woman said.
Right.
Because I was going to marry that boy.
Well, and I think truthfully, I think you're good. You're really good at this. We kind of talked about this in regards to following your dreams. Because I think when you get an idea in your head, there's not a whole lot that's going to stop you.
No.
And I love that about you. I, on the other hand, am still learning this.
Well, and but a strength of yours also is you pause and you go, okay, well, how is this going to look? How is this going to work? What does that look like? And that's not a bad thing either. And I think that's probably why we make a great team. I think that what it can do though, if you don't remind yourself of the truth about yourself. So like before getting up, Molly and I prayed together, and I just prayed that God would use me, and that the Holy Spirit would lead me to say the things that needed to be said for the people in the room.
Right.
And that people would leave feeling valued and inspired.
Right.
And whenever it starts really messing with me, I just remember like to be myself, and also not to be scared to be vulnerable, because that's a little scary. I tried not to cry, but I cried a little bit.
Yeah.
And just to really be true to myself and to be authentic. And then if you are that, then you have to just let it go. If people leave, like in my mind, I did my best that night. Yeah. So if someone left and went home and told their aunt like, and rolled her eyes and said, that girl is whatever, that lady is whatever, or that lady thinks she's all that, whatever, whatever the thing might be, that is going to be on them, because that was not the heart of my message or me. And I think you have to really just keep moving forward.
I think that can be hard for me. If I'm being honest, I think the hard part for me is I hate being misunderstood. I hate being misunderstood
or misquoted.
Or if my words are twisted, even in silly things. I just don't like being misrepresented. And I think that when someone has a misconception about me and it turns into something really negative, when it turns into he thinks he's all that.
Okay, whatever it is.
And I'll be honest, my therapist and I have talked about this. She said, my hunch is that you have been attracted to or put in leadership roles young your entire life. And I would say that's accurate.
Yeah, that's very true.
And so I think what's hard for me is, as a young leader and I was a young pastor in the past, you come under so much scrutiny.
Right.
And even in my current role, I'm an administrator for a school district. And sometimes I know what people think. I've heard what people think.
Well, and you have people that are older than you that have been in the school district for however many years that might look at you and say like, well, he's just not experienced enough. Right. Or he doesn't know enough. Right. Or whatever that thing is.
And I think it's really hard for me. It's really hard, especially when it comes to questioning my character or questioning, your motives or anything like that. And I think it's really hard for me. And this is something I'm working on, is just to kind of stay true to myself. Right. Put your head down, do your job, know who you are. And I actually asked people in our community, what do they do? And I love that somebody reminded me of this, because this is something we've talked about. Is someone reminded me of the video clip that went around just a couple months ago of Mel Robbins, where she said, let them.
Oh, it's so good.
Let them.
Shout out Mel Robbins. If you are listening, boy,
I love Mel Robbins.
I love her.
I love
it.
Thoughts.
Like,
She's
if your friends want to go to brunch and you don't get invited, let them.
If they think you're a hotshot public school administrator, let them. Just keep your head down and do your job. Yeah. If they think you're all that in a bag of chips because you're on Fox 8 News making doodad mix, let them. Let them think it. This has went around on Instagram too, and it said something like this. I'm not going to get it right. I wish I could have found it, but it's hard to find stuff.
Yeah, once it's gone.
But it said something like, the most powerful thing that you can do, the biggest boss move that you can make, is to be quiet about it. Is to not defend yourself and to not run in there. That's the biggest boss move. Because here's what I think. This is what I really, really think at the end of the day. When you go in and you try to correct all the misconceptions about you, what that actually does is it makes people go, well, maybe there's some truth to that, because methinks thou dost defend thyself too much. However, when you let that go, this is in my experience, when you let that go and when you let people say what they want to say about you, this is I don't remember who said this. I think it's Andy Stanley said this. He said, truth and time do not always go hand in hand. See, we want the truth about who we are or the misconception about us. We want the truth to be lined up with this timeline right now.
Right.
But what I've experienced, and I'm sure you've experienced this, is when you let it go and you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give it time and just see what happens. Often, if not always, the truth about who you are and your character will come out. And the people that are perpetuating a misconception about you, they're found out too for their character.
Right.
And people know that the person that's spreading a misconception about you or is gossiping about you, people see through that. People know that. It might not happen right away, but over time, they know that those people are the people that are tearing each other down.
Right.
Now, here comes the tricky part. The tricky part is you can't feed in to tearing other people down yourself.
Right.
Because if you're going to say that your character is a certain way, daggone it, it better be. Your character better be really good.
Right.
So you better not be tearing other people down, because that's not a good look. So people in our community, I put up a box and said, what do you do?
On Instagram. In
on
your
Instagram,
stories.
I put up a box and said, what do you do when people have misconceptions about you? And I thought this was really good. This is a photographer friend of mine who she has written recently actually about some experiences she's had in the photography world where she has felt excluded because she's not a mother. And it's coming up on people doing Mother Day shoots and how important that is to people, and why she doesn't often include Mother's Day shoots. But she said, I need to get better at blessing people and move on. At the end of the day, people have their right to their own opinions. Somebody else said, I try to get them to understand, but if they don't, I'm just consistent and I'm myself. And someone else said, you just have to let it go. And here's what I say. It's easier said than done for me.
It's
I
hard.
think the older that I get, the better I'm getting at it, but it's still really, really hard.
It's hard.
So,
and I think also the temptation can be to say, I'm going to go to the event and sit and support Molly, but I'm going to say no to speaking because I don't want to face, the nerves and maybe the whispers of insecurity in my heart and in my psyche. And I'm like, no, I mean, I'm past that now. I mean, we're not going to ring the bell, but I'm 55 and I'm past that.
Right.
Like I now need to say, this is who I am. And this is who I am with confidence.
Right.
And I want to remain humble. I want to remain kind and joyful. And I want to spread goodness and kindness and peace and love and joy and all of that. And if someone has a different opinion of me that they have heard something, whatever, this is giving me an opportunity to be authentic and real and myself in front of them. And then it's for them to decide. Right.
And I think at the end of the day, your character over time is what's going to show through for people. So I was doing a little digging on this and I thought, how do we get through this? Because I think from a 39-year-old person's perspective, when someone who is 55 says, you just got to let it go and let them, I'm like, well, that's easy for you to say. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
You have almost 15 more years of life that you've lived and more experiences through that. So I was thinking.
And listen, let me stop you right there because let me just say this. You are not going to change a person's perception of you, an opinion of you with a post on social media or even a talk in front of people. Right. You know, it comes from, I mean, and we've talked about this over the years when people say, I don't care what they think about me. Well, you should. You should. I mean, because that's your reputation. Right. That's your character. Right. That's your integrity on display. So it's just living the best way we know how, day after day after day, in front of the world, and in front of the people that we do life with, and you know, I would say that Daryl is somebody who's really done that in front of me in my life, with no marching band, no fanfare. There's been no trumpets or trombones to announce his arrival. He just does the right thing.
Right.
And we were in a conversation not long ago with our boys. We have something we call family meeting, and we were in a family meeting over the holidays, and Daryl was saying something, and I said, well, you right there just said what sets you apart from so many people is that you are saying that you would rather choose the hard, longer road right thing because it's the right thing to do than to do like a quick fix that could solve everything fast, but would affect his integrity and his character.
Right. So I think I want to get to that point. I want to get better at it. So I was doing some reading on it today because I was like, I really do want to get better at this part. And I think I still fight the temptation when I'm misunderstood of storming the gates and saying, no, you have it all wrong. You don't understand.
Right.
And I struggle with, even with Instagram or this podcast, I've had people say backhanded comments like, and I don't even want to repeat them. It's not even worth repeating.
Right.
But I've had people insinuate that I think I'm better than I am, or I'm trying to be something that I'm not, or I don't even know. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Let's just unpack this for a second, and then you can tell us what you're researching.
Yeah.
If you are a person that gives a kind of backhanded comment or kind of a smiling insult, what in the world? Why live a life and choose that versus saying to Matt, I've always wanted to do a podcast and I'm a little bit jealous, but I just want to let you know that I'm super happy for you and I'm happy that it's going well.
Yeah.
Instead of like weird things like, oh, so what's this mean now? You know, whatever.
Don't forget me.
Yeah.
I mean,
whatever that thing is. I think that it's a great time to reset how we might be communicating and celebrating people and talking to people. Mel Robbins, speaking of her, I went into her DMs not long ago and I said, listen, I don't know if people tell you this much. I don't know if people share this with you very much. I appreciate your content. I appreciate what the words you say, the message you communicate. And there are days that I think, yes. And it really just makes me like pumped up, and I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but it was a nice long message. And she messaged me back.
That's awesome.
And said, thank you so much for this. Because listen, we all are fighting some voice,
absolutely,
some person's perception, something that might have been said to us when we were 13.
Oh, Lord,
and it's hard enough. It's hard enough to fight the voices that you've already heard in your life. Why be a person that adds to it? And if you don't like the person, if you feel like saying something that's kind of a dig and you don't like him, just don't say anything.
Right.
Because it doesn't make that person look bad.
Right.
It actually makes you look bad.
Right. So true. So true. And I'm like, what? Just say nothing.
Just say nothing.
Or when we've talked about this in private, is if I even get in my head, this might be our part 2, but if I get in my head of doing that to other people, I unfollow them on social media. I don't know
walk out of
their
the room,
business
man. Walk out of the room.
Because I don't need anything about anyone else rolling around in my head.
No. And you don't need to position yourself with like, oh, I wish I was doing what he's doing. And then when the opportunity arises, you kind of go, oh, nice outfit. You look like a whatever.
Right.
I mean, we can do better.
So here's what I was coming up with. When we feel like there are misconceptions or untruths about us, what does that process look like? Because this is like literal preaching to the choir for me right now. So here's what I came up with. I was reading today, and there are 6 things that I kind of put together a list of. The first thing is acknowledge that it stings. I think it's so easy to say, whatever, I don't care what
Move
they
on.
say.
I'm just going to ignore it. But what can happen if you do that is you build resentment toward the person that's doing it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And, in regards to feeling that about people that we've talked about this before. You can have opinions and thoughts about people and you can easily say let it go when they're not in your everyday life, but you can't boundary everybody.
Right.
Like you can't boundary people enough to a point where, like, if there's someone that's in your family or that you work with, or maybe you go to the same church, or however you interact with this person, you can't just say, oh, whatever. Like there are still people in your life that hurt you.
Yeah. And
so
admit that
it
stings.
hurts.
That's good.
Here's the second one. And this one can be a slippery slope, but consider the source.
Right.
So just say, you know what? I don't know this is what I do sometimes. I had a boss in the past where they came across as very grumpy a lot. And my wife gave me some great perspective. She was like, you only see 0.5% of their day or 1% of their day. And they have so many other responsibilities that have nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. So also consider that you don't know everything that's going on in their life. The third one is quit being defensive. Yeah. Stop being defensive. Right. I think that's my biggest one. I actually did have somebody that is such a supporter of our podcast. I don't want to say their name in case they don't want me to share this, but she came into my question box that I put up about this, and she said, I run around and try to defend myself as much as I can, even though I know I shouldn't. But I struggle
hard.
with that. Yeah. I want to say, but this is why I did this, and this is why I did that.
And I think there are moments that you need to say what your truth is. Like, totally. I did not say that. That's not true. Keep moving, not keep revisiting, not keep rehashing it, not tell 7 people at work. Tell the person that needs to hear it, and then move on. Right.
Well, I actually overheard someone literally gossiping about me. Yeah. I was kind of around a corner, and I walked in and I went, that is not fair, and that is not true. Yeah. And we talked about it more, but, I haven't addressed it with them since then. I had to move on. Yeah.
You don't need to.
You can't defend yourself
forever. You spoke your truth, and that was it.
Right. Here's the next one. Ask what you can learn from it. I always do this.
Yes.
Is sometimes there is something to learn.
Yes.
And sometimes, whatever that misconception is about you, maybe there is something you contributed to make it true or give them that perception. Right. But what did you learn from it?
Or what can you learn from it?
What can you learn from it?
Really, it's even just pausing long enough to say, for me, it's like a prayer. It's like, okay, God, this feels really awful. Mm-hmm. But if there's something that I can learn from with this, please apply it to my life. And then the rest of it that might be malicious, not true, gossip, please just remove it from me. And that usually really helps me.
Right. The next one is, or the last one really is, just trying to see their perspective. And I kind of said that earlier, but trying to see how the other person would feel that would lead them to make that misconception about you. Yeah. And it's not that you're going to try to correct everything, and you're not going to right every wrong that's done to you, but maybe just a little bit of empathy for what they are experiencing or what's going on with them. That's good. And I think fighting that temptation to try to right every wrong that's done to you is just the hardest part for me. Mm-hmm. But I think as I have more experiences, I think the podcast has helped me because I'm putting myself out there in a new way. I think that things that we're exploring on Instagram and opportunities that we're getting lately, that really, really helps me put myself out there. Right. And, and you can see, I don't know if people that are listening to this do much with Instagram, but if you do much with Instagram, you see who looks at your stuff. And sometimes that actually messes with me because I'm like, ooh, this person, I don't know how they feel about me. What if they think I'm trying to be something? This, right. But that you can't let that mess with you. It's a good practice for me.
Well, and you can't live your life based on what 6 or 7 people might think of you.
Absolutely.
You need to be living your life how you were designed to live it. Mm-hmm. And just move along. I heard real quick, and I know we need to wrap. I heard Taylor Swift on NPR, and she said, and it's
the great theologian.
It's the great theologian. And it was a while ago, this interview, but she said she does not read the news about herself. She does not read she does not read the headlines. Her dad sifts through and sends her what she's like, my dad is how I get my news. He sifts through and he sends her the things that are really life-giving and supportive.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think that speaks a lot for her family, but 2, it speaks a lot for our mental health. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're not meant to take in all that negativity that somebody might be spitting out about us.
Right.
It's just not good for our mental and emotional and spiritual health.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, for me, when I hear something negative about me or an untruth, I create an army of people in my head that are also thinking the same thing. And often that's not the reality.
Yeah, which we could also be creating an army of people that think the opposite of us.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Ooh, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a
Let's
really
end
good
with
tip.
that,
Thank
Maddie
you.
B.
That's really great. Hey, thanks for joining us in this conversation about misconceptions about us. Listen, I'm 39 and you're 55. And we're still on this journey together at different stages. And so I appreciate your wisdom so much, Leanne.
Yeah.
Hey, whether ordinary or extraordinary, I hope you see that these
are good days. This episode brought to you by Walnut Creek Foods. Walnut Creek Foods and Walnut Creek Cheese is located in the heart of Ohio's Amish country. I have worked with this trusted brand for over 15 years now. They make incredible Amish country goods like jams, jellies, pickled items, relishes. They have an incredible bulk food section and, of course, amazing cheeses and meats. They also do an incredible job of supporting our local nonprofits. They even support one near and dear to our hearts, like Oh Huddle. We are so thankful to partner and for Walnut Creek Cheese and Walnut Creek Foods to be our official sponsor of These Are Good Days.